Do you ever disappoint yourself? I know I do. And depending on the situation and my competency, my level of skill, sometimes it can be daily. Well, doesn't it make sense that if we disappoint ourselves, that there's a high likelihood we're going to disappoint others? Hmm. And let's give a meaning to disappointment so you and I know that we're talking about the same thing. Disappointment is simply unmet values and expectations. That if I'm disappointed in myself, there was something that I valued that I wanted to bring out or I wanted to experience, and I wasn't able to move into that level for whatever reason. Okay. But as a overperformer, overfunctioner, and overcompensator, if we disappoint someone else, that is literally a blow to our self-confidence, our self-esteem, our self-worth, our identity. But disappointing others is actually unavoidable. And it does not mean that we failed. But what it does mean is that we've been programmed and conditioned to make the life of someone else better, but typically at our expense. And when you have been taught the OPOFOC, your body, your autonomic nervous system, will default to fight, flight, freeze, or appease, also known as fawn, when disappointment is triggered. So let's talk about what to do instead. First, this is usually how it shows up. So for an OP, overperformer, you'll move into fight. You're going to prove harder, push further. I'll show you. Keep in mind that OP is abnormal patterns to exceed requirements. And typically, OP, OF, and OC was programmed and conditioned into you before age 8. 80% of who you are as an adult was accepted as the truth before age 8 because your prefrontal cortex, your executive functioning center, your conscious mind that has the ability to reject or accept wasn't developed to the point to where it could do that. So you were like a sponge. Whatever you were thrown into, you soaked up. And so programming, which is the mental level, and conditioning, which is the emotional level, were then designed for someone else's benefit. Okay, so abnormal patterns to exceed requirements. Then you have flight. This is the OF, the overfunctioner. Stay in constant motion to outrun disapproval. This is where busyness becomes the business of life. And an overfunctioner, or the definition of this, is where you will take on extra roles in order to stabilize your system. So, I disappointed them, so what else can I do over here? And then freeze. This is the OC, the overcompensator. Shut down and play small to risk further rejection. And this is where you will use unrelated areas of your life in order to mask the injury. So, you disappointed someone else. Oh my gosh, well, this next thing that came into your life, don't ask for what it is that you need. So that way you won't further the injury. Now, I'm sharing all of this with you because I share from real life examples. And this is what happened to me today. So, in the previous episode, the Hot Mess Express, I talked about going to healing service at church. Well, I have class on Wednesday nights, and because I went to the healing service, I wasn't able to make the class, and so the instructor had to do a makeup for me today. And the instructor did it, but at the end said, yeah, let's not have this happen again. You need to be in class. Remember, disappointment is simply where values are unmet. And every conflict, whether it is a conflict between countries, political parties, states, people, internally, every conflict is a conflict in values. So my instructor had one value. I don't want to have to repeat the class. I don't want to take the extra time. I had another value of, if this opportunity that could actually allow me to leap into the next level of my life makes itself known, I will hold to my original commitment of staying true as much as possible. But yeah, the value on this superseded your value of not having to repeat the class. So every conflict is a conflict in values. And when you react instead of respond, reactions are based on past pain. Responses are based on future impact. When you react from fight, flight, freeze, or appease, you're not defending your values. You're defending your worth. And here's the truth. You don't have to defend your worth. It's already settled. There might need to be conversations about how to better meet each other's values, but that doesn't lay on you as your sole responsibility. So we have to begin to move from survival mode to sovereignty, to agency, to the freedom to choose, to decide, to implement. And I use a 4-part process. I use this with my clients as well as myself. It's the 4 R's. Just like reading, writing, arithmetic, and recess when we were in school, this is the 4 R's of reveal, release, relearn, rejoice. Now, I will typically do this work in a hypnotic session so the client can access the part of their personality that is holding the value of flight, fight, freeze, or appease because they were taught to overperform, overfunction, and overcompensate. Oh, by the way, the fawn, the appeaser, this is when you say yes to avoid conflict, but at the cost of yourself. Forgot to cover that one earlier. All right, so we need to shift. Reveal. Reveal says, oh, this is who I was just triggered to be. And it's going to be a younger you who learned how to do this. And it is not her fault. But we do have to take 100% responsibility that when she gets triggered, that it is going to have a domino effect into another area. So reveal. Reveal the aspect of you that just got triggered. Release. There is a contract that younger you had to go into, non-verbally, and she probably wasn't even old enough to realize it, but it was a contract in which her survival was based on this. And we have to move her from, being wounded to healing, wholeness, thriving, life by design. And the only way to do that is to release her from getting triggered. There was something else she was supposed to be, do, have when she was younger, instead of making life better for others at her expense. I don't know what it is. Mine? Oh, she loves to be outside. And so she's been informed that when she gets triggered, I know that she's going to react. But that as soon as she reacts, well, Dawn's domino effect is going to take place. And it is going to then lead to something else. And she doesn't have to stay present. This is known as neuroplasticity and parts therapy for inner conflict resolution. Neuroplasticity says that we have the ability to rewire our neural pathways. That when a trigger shows up, it doesn't have to lead to the same destination. It may start the same way. So whenever my instructor said, yeah, let's not have this happen again, I went right into appease. Well, I want to thank you for doing this for me today. And then as soon as I did that, it rerouted the switchboard and took me someplace else. And that is the third R. So we have reveal, release, and then relearn, because the subconscious will not tolerate a void. You just can't take something out. It says choose its replacement, or I'll choose for you, and I'll choose for you based on the same BS you just tried to get rid of. By the way, BS stands for belief system. So I have to reveal my desire. This is the future me. What does she want to experience? She is my wise woman, and she has been given permission to mentor, to guide, to protect, to create an experience for the younger me to grow. But to do that, she has to step into the place to then take care of what just triggered us. And so, relearn. This is what my wise woman came up with a long time ago. And I've since put a filter on my mouth to where it doesn't necessarily come out. What you think of me is none of my business. If that person who has a conflict in values with me needs to escalate it, then they need to have a conversation with me that says, how can we make this work? And if they don't, that's on them, not me. I've got too many other projects. I've got too many other things to work on. I know I have a high level of commitment. I also know that I'm going to miss the mark. And at times, others are going to have to step in, and they are going to have to compensate for me. They are going to have to function for me. They're going to have to perform for me. And I do the same thing for others. So as long as it's not done in a dysfunctional way, all right. And then rejoice. This is when I act from alignment, not appeasement. And I need to ask myself, is there anything further I need to do? No, I'm living my values. All right. So the freedom in disappointing others as well as yourself is that you begin to see it where values are unmet and maybe they're in conflict. You do not need to convince somebody of your worth. You may have to have a conversation, maybe, on how to live values that are overlapping. So, if you're disappointing yourself on a pretty regular basis, it points out you need to pre-decide what values are going to take place. As I discussed in the last episode, right now with my arm injury, I discovered that no matter how tired I am in the evening, that I'm going to need to engage in activity that is going to keep my arm loose so it doesn't freeze during the night in sleep and cause me extreme pain. I pre-decide. I don't wait for the moment to see how I feel, because feelings will lie to you. So, what value, what future, what desire do you want to move into? And pre-decide based on that. And disappointing others. Well, was it a one-time event? Does a conversation need to take place? And how much responsibility, remember, responses are based on future impact. How much responsibility do they need to engage in? Because maybe it's their value that's not getting met, and they need to take ownership of how to move forward on that in a healthy way. So, use this to bring out your brilliance, rewire those neural pathways for a future that you can begin to live today.